Okay, Drea, I beg of you, educate me because I'm looking at this headline. A new poll reveals that older Canadians, aka the boomers, want fewer legal immigrants to relocate to Canada. The man with the immigration plan that he often cited on the campaign trail was Pierre Poilievre. He was the only one addressing this issue of the major parties. But the boomers, we understand, went with the globalist Mark Carney. I mean, I wonder how many read his book Values. Maybe that might explain why I think so many of them are having buyer's remorse. But Drea, the election was just like 3 months ago. Like, this does not compute for me. Can you explain this?
Well, absolutely. I mean, who voted for Carney? I got to be respectful of my elders, but what the heck is going on? They voted for Carney. This was a huge issue. And you're right, Carney didn't really make it an issue or of such. But just to read some of the stats from the actual poll itself done by Research Co. It says 43% of Canadians believe immigration is having a mostly positive effect. So still a big chunk of us are supportive of it. A smaller portion of Canadians, 39%, think immigration is having a mostly negative effect on the country. So a lot of that I blame is just information. It's where people are getting their information from. A lot of people are totally in the dark of just how much this is not a feasible plan the way that we're moving forward. And then it says that, I like this, is interesting. It's breakdown by the parties among Canadians who voted in the federal election for the NDP. 59% NDP, or the Liberal Party, 55% believe immigration is having a positive effect on Canada. So within the Liberals, within Carney's party, those voters, it's only 55% that believe that it's having a positive effect. So that seems like, the election wasn't that long ago. What the heck?
100%. And you know what I find incredible, Drea, because I've met these people who have immigrated to Canada legally years or even decades ago, and they're against mass migration, even from people from their old homelands. Yeah. So let's not put this through the prism of, this is some kind of a racist, mandate, because it's not. And by the way, Drea, just to add more confusion to this, because certainly whoever these older Canadians are, we want less immigration, but yeah, we're voting for Mark Carney. That's even going to bring in Gazans to Canada. That doesn't compute. And yet, what have we seen in the 100+ days since Carney was elected? Nothing. He's going to recognize Palestinian statehood, something he announced right on the tariff deadline date pre-August 1, which he knew would enrage the president. And I think that was his agenda all along. I think Brookfield Asset Management is running the country. I know Carney, most of his assets are U.S. based, the lion's share. So when the U.S. does well, Carney does well. I really believe that's what's going on because nothing else makes sense. But the point is, in more than 100 days, he has done less than nothing. And yet a poll came out last week showing that his approval rating since April had only dipped 2%, and his disapproval rating is just 27%, which most politicians, if they had, the offer, they'll go, yeah, I'll take that number. That's no problem. Again, Drea, I mean, we keep hearing endless stories of people that are saying, I've got buyer's remorse. Carney seemed like a good idea at the time, and yet the polls don't really reflect that. Just a 2% dip. Again, educate me, because I feel like that little bear with very little brain in its head right now.
Well, you forgot to mention something very important that Mark Carney had time to do, which was, of course, march in the Pride Parade in Vancouver and hug, men in pink G-strings. I mean, that was just top priority. But I think that this boils down to the power of identity politics. And in this case, it's the war against Trumpism, the war against MAGA. And so you have people who voted because they felt like somehow They're voting against Trump, who, of course, remains the president and keeps, extending his power. So people are still on that team, and I think they don't see the connection to Carney when it comes to issues that are right here in Canada that are affecting us and everything, every aspect. And you talk about people who were immigrants themselves that come here, and you're absolutely right. I've spoken to many of them, and they are not just happy with how many people are coming. They're not happy with how we are incentivizing people to coming and all of the resources that we're using. And they love telling their stories about how they worked so hard and how they saved so much money and how they paid our country so much money to be here, to start businesses, to operate here. They had two back when we had the $2 bill or whatever, that's all they had left. And so they're looking at like this new wave coming and saying, what the heck is going on? And they're feeling cheated out as well.
And Drea, something you said right off the top, because I'm trying to understand the lay of the land in Canada, whether we've gone too far, there's no coming back. And that was Carney will march in the Pride Parade. He'll get huggy with a guy that, as always, shouldn't be wearing a thong, but is wearing a thong. Does that add to a higher or lower approval rating?
I would say definitely lower. I made a joke like, I'm so glad we have a leader who's going to be taken seriously now. And what other leaders? We now have two leaders. It's because Trudeau did something very similar with a very young looking topless woman. Hopefully she was an adult, I'm not sure. But we now have two leaders back to back that think this is professional, think this is okay. You can't even do something like that on the average job. You can't even be like a grocery store attendant. If somebody walked into the grocery store like that, you'd have to kick them out. You'd have to maintain professionalism. And here we have Mark Carney just beaming from ear to ear, hugging a nearly naked man in a G-string. That is Canada. That is the image. That is how seriously we are going to be taken on the international stage.
Well, I think the Liberals think it obviously works for them in terms of good PR. Trudeau never met a Pride Parade he didn't want to go to. And to your other point, Trudeau, he's always got a thing for a young woman, doesn't he? I mean, right now, the rumor mill tongues are wagging about him as an item with Katy Perry. At least she's of the age of consent last time. I don't know. You think Katy Perry could do better? I mean, like, behind closed doors, Drea, what is that relationship like? Is it firework, or is it, I don't know, the one that got away, somebody done somebody wrong song? What do you think?
I think that I am not mentally capable of going behind closed doors in that relationship. I'm going to I don't even want to think about it. Somebody needs to tell her. Maybe she knows. I no longer really like Hollywood or music or stuff like that. So maybe it's a fitting. Maybe they belong together.
You got it.